Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Jinx supplementary guide, and today we're going to be talking about STORMRAIZER on Jinx. So now obviously the normal build you normally go for is going to be let's see, it's going to be this one, the one with the Bloodthirster as a first item, but there is an alternative build which is basically substituting Bloodthirster for STORMRAIZER and then swapping Blaster to go earlier and then Runans later, and the rest of the build is basically the same. I mean, the items are the same, the order changes slightly, but essentially the main difference is swapping out swapping out Bloodthirster with STORMRAIZER, and we're gonna talk more about what this really changes in the gameplay later on, because I think the gameplay is a really good example of the pros and cons of the switch, but we'll talk a little bit more about it later on. For now, let's take a look at the items, the runes, and the spells. So first up, we have Gluttonous Grease for the AD as well as the Omnivamp as usual. Then we go into first item, STORMRAIZER. Obviously, you get a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of AD, as well as most importantly that passive, which of course gives you the bonus damage, slows down the enemy, and speeds yourself up. And then to combo with this, another energized item, the Magnetic Blaster, more attack speed, gives you that bonus range and the Static Shift passive. The passive, Static Shift passive, very useful to, of course, proc on multiple enemies and get an assist, which will give you a reset in a team fight. So both of these very good items. And then Runans, kind of same logic here. You can attack 3 people at the same time, you get even more attack speed, and of course you also get a little bit of on-hit physical damage, a little bit of AD, but of course mostly to attack 3 people simultaneously, which will give you resets as well as also allow you to damage 3 people continuously. And then your last 2 items, order is interchangeable. You do have IE for the AD and the increased crit damage, and then you also have Moral Reminder for the Armor Pen and Grievous Wounds. Obviously, for against a very, very tanky team, you gotta swap this one earlier and then IE later. For the runes, Lethal Tempo for increased attack speed as well as attack range. And then we have Brutal, of course, because you auto attack a ton as an ADC. Giant Slayer to deal with the tanks, and we have Alacrity here just for more attack speed. Although with this build, since we don't have Bloodthirster, Bloodline here could be decent as well, because you really only have lifesteal from Gluttonous Greaves, and that's really not that amazing, especially if you swap it out for defensive boots later on. So Bloodline here could be a very viable option as well. And then we have Bone Plating for the defensive capabilities, both in lane and in the later stages of the game. And for the spells, I like to go for Flash, and if possible, my best option is actually Ghost. I like to go for Flash and Ghost. Ghost combos very well together with Jinx's resets, and kind of allows you to get, even more movement speed with the Get Excited reset as well as the Ghost reset, and basically allows you to run wild in team fights. However, the only one I would substitute it for is Cleanse. So if you need Cleanse, then you do substitute Ghost for Cleanse. I don't normally go for any other summoner spells other than these two. Maybe Exhaust in very rare instances where there's multiple assassins, but if there are multiple assassins, hopefully I'm not playing Jinx, right? Anyways, let's get into the gameplay itself. Okay, now let's get into the gameplay itself. I'm actually pretty excited about this gameplay because I think that this gameplay is a very good example to kind of show why STORMRAIZER can be good, and in fact better than Bloodthirster in some instances, but it also shows the weaknesses of STORMRAIZER and why in some instances Bloodthirster would be better. So I guess there are multiple examples in this game that I will be pointing out as time goes on, but this game kind of also shows examples of why Jinx is pretty good as a champion. So what do I mean by that? Well, basically, in this particular game, as you guys know, I like to generally swap more towards the bottom to try to pick later, because I want to kind of counter pick ADC because I can play every ADC in the game. However, sometimes your team just doesn't want to swap with you, and in this game I was in solo queue, I believe, and no one really wanted to swap with me, so I had to pick early. And one of the kind of strengths of Jinx is she's a very kind of neutral ADC, in the sense that she can play well with an Enchantress support, she can play well with a tank engager support. Of course, preferably you want like a Lulu, Yumi, or Milio, but of course in solo queue you're not really gonna get that every match. Like every hyper carry wants that, but you're not necessarily always gonna get that. Pretty much all you need is at least one frontline champion, right, who's in the team fights with you, right? So in this game, we kind of have Ornn as really our main frontline. Like, without a frontline, it's really difficult to play Jinx, because without a frontline, you are basically very vulnerable to just getting attacked everywhere. Even with a frontline against multiple assassins, it's still very difficult. So, in this match, I was pretty lucky since I picked early, and there aren't really many assassins on the enemy team, or really there aren't any, to be honest, right? So, another great strength you can see here is what is happening in the game now. I mean, you can see Rakan getting destroyed, but what you can see is Jinx is actually really good at neutralizing a lane. Now, what does that, what does that mean? You can see here, I'm trading back with Lux and Caitlyn, but what that really means is, if you have to blind pick early as an ADC, there are some ADCs you can pick and some ADCs you cannot pick, because, for example, if you pick a Samira early, right, you may not get an engaged support, which is kind of GG for you, and you also can get counterpicked on the enemy side very easily. Like, for example, if you play Samira into Caitlyn Lux, you're never going to be able to go in because you're always going to get poked out, and you're always going to get, like, destroyed. So you can never pick champions like Samira early, and, like, a lot of champions you can't really pick early as ADC, or rather not many, not a lot, but maybe like half of the champions of ADC you can't really pick early. Like, for example, you don't want to pick Neela blind, you don't want to pick Twitch blind, you don't want to pick Samira, Kalista, Lucian even, and yeah, maybe. But the other half you kind of can pick early. It's sort of like there are half of the ADC population that is just very neutral early. Like, you can pick Varus blind, you can pick Ashe blind, you can pick MF blind most of the time, that kind of thing. You don't want to pick certain champions blind, like those I mentioned. Even Xayah you don't want to pick blind because you don't want to be playing Xayah into a full range team, things like that. And why is Jinx very good as a blind pick? Well, basically, firstly, it's the support combo, as I mentioned. Secondly, it's her range, right? So you can see in this particular scenario, we're playing against a double poke lane with Caitlyn Lux. And Caitlyn Lux is one of the most deadly combos you can get as an enemy duo, because obviously we know that they synergize very well together. So when Lux hits a root, not only can she use her full combo on you, but Caitlyn can also use her full combo on you. So Lux root into Caitlyn trap, into Caitlyn net, into a full Lux combo, into a full Caitlyn combo. The moment you get hit by Lux root, you're basically dead, right? There's no way to survive that kind of combo. Even pre-level 5, you could die from the combo. So the strength of Jinx is that with her rockets, you can farm from distance, and against poke lanes like these, you can kind of try to survive just that little bit more and kind of not die, right? The main goal against these kind of like poke lanes is just to not die. Even with engaged lanes, like if you're playing against a Nautilus, Draven, a Leona Draven, or Kalista, all in lanes like that, Jinx is also fine as well, right? Because all you gotta kind of do is sit back, let them push, farm under tower, and you're normally not gonna get dived unless the jungler comes as well, which can happen, but is not the most likely in solo queue. So in general, most of the time, Jinx lanes are quite safe to play, which is kind of why I picked Jinx early in this game. So now that we've talked honestly very extensively about Jinx for the past like 4 minutes, we can talk now a little bit more about the STORMRAIZER build compared to the Bloodthirster build. So in my opinion, both builds are really good on Jinx, and both have pros and cons, right? So they really, in my opinion, there really isn't one that's better than the other, although I would personally go for Bloodthirster as a default, because I think that's a more better scaling build and also a more kind of neutral build, whereas with the STORMRAIZER build, it's a little bit more specific. And what I mean by that, well, basically what's the main strength of STORMRAIZER, right? It's very strong in the early to mid game, where the damage it gives you is very significant. The slow and the speed up is also very significant. And the main reason why you build STORMRAIZER on Jinx is because it helps you get your initial reset, right? Because if you really think about it, STORMRAIZER can help you deal a burst of damage to one target. Hopefully you and your team can kill that one target, get you that initial reset, and then hopefully that reset can help you get another kill to get another reset, so on and so forth. And then you kind of wipe the enemy team out, or you win the team fight. That's the general idea of why you want to go for STORMRAIZER. However, the main issue of STORMRAIZER is, well, a couple, right? So the first thing is, the damage kind of falls off in late game. So STORMRAIZER's extra burst damage, by the time you get to like late game, and by late game I mean like, let's say 4 or 5 items, the STORMRAIZER damage is really not that high anymore. Compared to if you had Bloodthirster, the pure AD and things like that, the damage is going to be comparable in the late game, right? So that's kind of the first issue with STORMRAIZER. The second issue with STORMRAIZER is that or it's not an issue, it's actually a pro, right? The pro of STORMRAIZER is actually that it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than Bloodthirster, so you can get it earlier, maybe even before first objective sometimes. Obviously not in this game, where we're kind of getting poked out by Caitlyn and we have like a 500 gold deficit just from like losing CS and things like that. But I found the words, it kind of came back to me. So the other con of STORMRAIZER is that it doesn't have lifesteal, and well, lifesteal is not really the most important statistic on ADC. Of course, other things like attack speed and attack damage are more important in general, but lifesteal does matter, right? Because in those long fights, sometimes you do tank up damage, and you do need a little bit of of lifesteal. As we see here, we're able to burst down the Nunu using our ulti point blank, and then we get a reset, chasing the rest of the enemy team away, getting another reset off the dragon, but no one to really hit at this point, so we're gonna go back to kind of farming our lane. So, as I mentioned, you really have an issue with getting lifesteal, right? Because as I mentioned in the build section as well, you only get lifesteal from the Gluttonous Greaves, and if you swap that out for defensive boots, you have no lifesteal at all, and that is an issue. And that is an issue, because having no lifesteal at all or very little lifesteal is just not very good, right? Because with that, you're basically gonna have a fixed health bar in the team fight. The moment you take damage, you're not gonna gain that health back for the most part. Right, so that is a sort of an issue for me. That's kind of one of the main reasons why I don't like STORMRAIZER personally. However, in this game, you will actually see, you know, how good the STORMRAIZER can be. Actually, that one of the examples was in that fight just now, where we were able to proc STORMRAIZER on the Nunu and burst him down. I believe, if I was not wrong, I think there will be at least one other fight where we will be doing this and getting the initial reset using the power of STORMRAIZER. So, as I said, don't get me wrong, STORMRAIZER is a very good, very viable item on Jinx. It's just that the lack of lifesteal kind of bothers me. So here we can see that there are 4 people mid, and here I'm thinking of whether to rotate mid or to keep pushing. And I realize that there's no point of rotating mid because, I mean, we're not going to win a 3v4 fight anyway, so instead I'm going to continue on pushing. Since no one is coming, I'm just going to keep pushing. But now I've lost vision of them, so now I gotta move. Right, and by move I mean I gotta retreat because we don't know where they are. The ward there actually spots them coming down, so I made the right decision to retreat, of course. I mean, they're not gonna let me get a free tower for no reason. And since I have nothing to really farm here, Morgana has not been farming very well. You can see that Morgana has pretty much ignored her jungle and is constantly going for ganks. This leaves all of her jungle camps up and, you know, just sitting there. It's like free gold that no one is taking. So I'm gonna just take all of the jungle farm here. I'm not gonna take the red buff because stealing buff from jungler generally not a good idea, especially when there's buff sharing, you know, in the game. Right. So here there's a huge fight happening at the top lane, and obviously I'm not gonna be able to magically teleport to top lane, right? So the best macro decision I can do is to push down tower and to get gold. So you can see that me and Caitlyn at this point have equal gold, right? She has 1 more kill and 1 more assist than me at this point. Now another assist here, but you can see that by just farming jungle, farming minions, and getting the tower, I'm actually on par with her exactly the same amount of gold. Now she's 3-0-3, and I'm still on par with her at 1-0-1 because of the tower and the minion wave that I just took. In fact, here we're gonna kind of ignore the Zyra, and we're just gonna go for this tower, tank the tower like about 2 or 3 shots, and we're able to actually get the tower here, get the reset, and run away. Now this is one of the unique things that Jinx can do that other ADCs don't do very well. Because obviously, if you obviously number 1, you get the ramping attack speed on your Q, which helps you take down towers faster. Number 2, you can go for a little bit more risky kind of tower takes because when you get the tower, you are gonna reset, and you can use that movement speed to run away, which not many other ADCs can actually do. So at this point, you can see Morgana has basically does not farm her red buff, right? So it's just, again, it's sitting there, it's going to waste gold and the red buff effect. So I'm now just gonna take it, and I'm gonna take the Crux as well, because Morgana has gone exclusively to the blue side, and she's not farming her red side jungle at all. So it's just a waste to not take the jungle camps because no one is taking them anyway. And with that, we get the extra gold. So here we're not sure where the enemies are. We can only see Rumble and Zyra. So I'm actually going to go into range form and to like farm the minions for maximum range so that enemy doesn't just randomly pop up. Now we actually have vision of Kate Lux. So it's a little bit safer to actually walk up here to farm. Of course, after this wave, we gotta back off because obviously someone is gonna rotate because the wave is pushing very deep in. And since we've already gone to tier 2, there's not much we can really get in this lane anymore because we're not gonna be able to push all the way to inhib in almost any circumstance. So here we're now gonna rotate over to mid, and hopefully we can start farming mid and someone else can take over bot. But you can see once again in my downtime, Morgana's not farming the raptors here, so I'm just gonna farm the raptors myself. The dragon is about to come up, so I'm already kind of in position. The enemy team all in position as well. They're all here ready to fight. So here I believe we probably can see, hopefully we can see another good example of the STORMRAIZER coming into play. Here, Ornn is calling in the ulti, gets a relatively good ult here. You can see here, we are focusing down the Lux. Look at that STORMRAIZER prop on the Lux. Lux gets low, Lux dies, gets me the reset. I'm going to have to flash away because I'm in a little bit of danger here. I'm launching my rockets at whoever's the closest target at this point. However, they're not really dying. Nunu dies to Ornn as well, and we get another reset. Now we're just running people down. Third reset on the board, but we're not going to be able to run down Caitlyn, not quite. And we're taking a ton of damage from the Zyra, so at this point we kind of have to call it off. And we've done our job in that fight. We've stayed relatively safe in the backline for the majority of the fight, and we were able to kill the people we need to kill, and then move on to getting the dragon, putting us on Infernal Soul Point. So there is a prime example of why STORMRAIZER is an amazing item on Jinx, simply because you guys saw the proc on the Lux there. Rakan went in for the combo onto the Lux. I saw that. I was able to get my STORMRAIZER proc onto the Lux. My team was able to burst her down 100 to 0 and then get me the reset. And with the insane attack speed and movement speed from the reset, we're able to take over the rest of the fight. Here we're cleansing the Nunu knockup so we can continue to DPS, hopefully kill him, get the reset. There's the reset. Nick's target is dead to right, so we kill the Zyra. We're now going on to the Caitlyn, blasting her into Nick's weak. We get her as well. Now Rumble lays down the red carpet. We can't really walk over that, and it's kind of zoning me off, attacking him. And now everyone's dead other than Rumble, right? So here, Baron is the right play. But I really need to secure as much gold for myself as I can. So instead of going directly to Baron, which is the best play, I'm actually taking a very, very greedy play here by kind of forcing this tier 2 tower. Because you can see here, I actually get like 350 gold from it, and I also got the Ornn passive, so I'm actually able to buy Rununs and farm the enemy Raptors, sorry, on the way here. And then now we can go ahead and get Baron. Obviously, my DPS on Baron is going to be pretty good at 3 items, although most of my items are attack speed and not attack damage, which is where the IE has to come in soon. And then we get a reset off of the Baron, and here I'm cutting the red buff away from the enemy team. I'm not spotted by the enemy vision, I'm cutting it all the way out, and then we get the red buff as well. Morgana steals the Krug, so whole enemy red side has been taken by us. Now here, we're going for the turret. We're going to get a reset off of this tower, and if there is a fight, we do have that reset. Ornn goes in with a double knockup. I get the ulti on just to ensure I get the reset if anyone dies. The Rumble is 1 HP. Zyra Plant blocks the Morgana binding. We're able to finally get the kill onto the Rumble, and now we're trying to blast whoever we can. Caitlyn and Lux both get rooted. I'm trying to blast them down, and you can see here one of the weaknesses of STORMRAIZER, which is the lack of lifesteal, right? Because they're in those kind of close fights. The healing that you get from Bloodthirster is gonna actually save you, but if you have STORMRAIZER like what I had here, you can do that little bit of burst damage on them, but you can't lifesteal, and if they can out DPS you, you are gonna die. So in this case, Caitlyn here has like STORMRAIZER, Collector, and IE, a lot of AD, a lot of damage there, whereas I have a lot of attack speed items, and in the grand scheme of things, she does a little bit more damage than me, and she ends up killing me, and yeah, I do not survive. So we're actually gonna see another example of this later on, like another instance where having like Bloodthirster would have made me win the fight, and having STORMRAIZER lost me the fight. But of course, that's a completely different reality, right? If we had Bloodthirster. Like, also, like, if we had Bloodthirster, we may not have been able to burst down the Lux in that fight, or the Nunu in the previous fight, and we may not have been able to get a reset and, you know, turn the objective fight. So, the game is very different whether you go for STORMRAIZER or Bloodthirster, and we're back to farming Morgana's entire jungle. This time she's actually here, so this time I'm actually stealing her camps. I think she's none too happy about it, so whoops. But at this point you can see me and Caitlyn are both of us are trying very hard to carry our teams. I'm 2-1 in 8, she's 6-1 in 4, and we are at equal goal. Speaking of carry, here we are in this next fight, trying our best to DPS from the back, which is exactly what we're doing. But Nunu, however, is not taking a lot of damage. We're focusing him down because he's the closest target, using Rununs to spread to the rest. They're not taking very much damage, and it's not going too successfully. The only thing that's managed to happen is Rakan dying, which is obviously not what we're looking for. We really need blue buff. Thankfully, Morgana's going to get that, and we're going to get the buff share. Jinx is someone who really wants double buffs in the mid to late game, because with red buff, of course, you get the extra damage, and still with blue buff, you have unlimited ammo for your rockets. And considering in team fights you mainly use rockets, you really need that blue buff to spam your rockets. Like, if not, you're gonna run out of mana in the middle of the fight, and you're gonna have to switch to minigun, which is very, very not ideal because your range on minigun is just not very good compared to the rockets. So Final Dragon is coming up. This is of course going to be Soul for my team, and here we're just blasting at range. The issue is this wall, of course, is in the way, so we don't want to get too close, but we can't be too far, so we got to be in position to DPS. Now here I thought the enemy team was actually backing off. So here we're actually just doing the enemy jungle, and we're just basically just poking whoever we can. Now my team goes back in and I'm out of position to DPS. So here I'm a little bit of a mistake from me, but now I'm in position. I'm blasting multiple people at the same time with the rockets and the rununs. We finally get a reset. We got double on Zara. Here I was thinking we're gonna get Penta, right? I'm thinking Penta, but nope. Our Ornn steals a kill, and we die to Caitlyn again in almost the exact same way, in almost the exact same place. I mean, one was at the top lane inhibitor, one was like at the bot lane inhibitor, but essentially we kind of died to her in the same way at the same place. Like both of these, I don't know why, but Caitlyn decides to stand still and ult me instead of just continuously auto-attacking me. Now personally, I would have thought that just spam auto-attacking me would have been better, but she decides to ult me instead, and yeah, so she just kills me with the ult twice, right? So that's a little bit unfortunate. Although at this point, we have now picked up the IE. In fact, while we were fighting the Caitlyn, I actually bought IE while I was in the fight because my goal just ticked over to IE goal and I had the Ornn passive on me. So I actually bought IE mid-fight to hopefully win the fight against her. And we nearly did, but we just didn't. Once again, she kind of killed us when we had like 1 HP. And she had 1 HP left after the fact. So a little bit unfortunate. However, my team is going to be able to slowly secure Baron. Now, Elder is 10 seconds away, so my team needs to reset and get over to Elder. So here I'm getting the mid lane Prior. Of course, the most important thing to do before objectives. Helps you end the game if you get the objective and wipe the enemy team. It helps you not lose the game if the opposite occurs. So here, I'm going to take the red buff. I'm not sure if I got it or Morgana got it, but it doesn't matter at this point. The whole point is just to secure the red buff before the Elder fight so that we have red buff for the fight. Here, removing the enemy vision. A huge 3-man Ornn knockup, and Nunu's coming in. We're blasting him. I was actually trying to blast Rumble for the reset. I'm still trying to blast Rumble for the reset. It's not working, so now instead I'm switching targets to the Elder Dragon / Nunu. Now, Nunu is almost dead. If he comes anywhere near, my rocket's gonna kill him, so he can't get anywhere close. We get the Elder. I decide to turn back around to this side of the fight. 1 auto is enough. I can't believe that rooted me. I thought that I was gonna be slim enough to squeeze through, but I guess not. But anyways, Yasuo just ends the game. And yeah, you can kind of see how the STORMRAIZER works and why it could be good, but why it could be bad as well. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.